Hello everybody, this is Guapo back with another fanfic. Today's fanfic is, What if Naruto was Madara Uchiha's younger brother? If you want to read on your own time, the link to the fanfic is in the description. Well, let's get started. Chapter 6. Call to Arms. 8 years later. Naruto Uchiha stood atop the walls of an ancient and proud castle of her clan. Considered one of their most strongest holdings in the Land of Fire, Castle Tsukimi was their clan's pride. Built on top of a tall mountain it dared to reach the skies, with its lower levels being divided into 7 long divisions each having a wide forest. 10 times great armies of their enemies had attacked this castle. And 10 times were they defeated. More than half of those attacks had happened in the past 8 years alone, for the Uchiha had started doing something that threatened their enemies. The dragons were gathering allies. And unlike the Senju, who were busy trying to gather support of only the largest and most powerful clans for their side, the Uchihas had done the opposite. Instead of going after the bigger fishes, the Uchiha under the leadership of Naruto had focused on smaller clans and those shinobi families that had lost their power. The results were quite unique for both sides. Today, the Senju clan was quite powerful in everything, be they power, money, or political clout. They had mighty allies in the form of the Sarutobi clan, the Akimaki clan, and the Inuzuka clan. Together they all represented the strongest alliance in the southern areas of the elemental nations. On the other hand, the Uchihas were still the single most largest clan, having the most number of fighters than any other, even the Senju. They had developed great allies in the form of a Burame clan, Shimura clan, Yui clan, Namikaze clan, Kurama clan, and many more smaller families. Together these clans combined represented the single most largest and cunning faction. But there were still many more clans who were yet to choose sides. However, Naruto knew it was inevitable. The gathering of such powerful factions on this scale was a clear indication of something inevitable. The Great Clan War. She had done her best to gather as many allies for her people. Most smaller families who had lost their prestige had readily flocked to the Dragon Banner, for they had all heard of Madara's exploits. The clan heir had grown to become one of the most, if not the most powerful shinobi across the elemental nations. Someone against whom not even the Senjus dared to openly strike unless they had the support of one powerful shinobi. Madara had made himself famous, when at the age of 13, the young Uchiha had single-handedly defeated the entire Burame clan in single combat, leading to their surrender and joining the Dragon Banner. Seeing an ancient and noble clan like the Burame being defeated like that had made the remaining lesser clans join the Uchiha quite quickly. The Shimura clan had joined quite eagerly without asking for anything in return. However, the Yui, Namikaze, and Kurama clan had taken quite some persuading, along with fertile lands to settle upon in the Uchiha territory, along with intermarriage between their families and lesser powerful Uchiha families to join the cause. And Naruto had done her best to create the perfect balance. But it was not enough. For if the Uchiha had Madara to rally behind, the Senju had their own hero. Hashirama Senju. Considered to be the most powerful shinobi of this era, Hashirama was the only person who had faced Madara in single combat, and not only did he survive but actually forced Madara to a draw. The Senju was highly respected among his clan, and it was his jovial and friendly nature that made powerful clans like the Sarutobi, Inuzuka and Akimaki readily join their cause. Madara had developed a personal rivalry with the Senju leader, which only went up a notch when Madara declared the dragon as the Uchiha's official symbol, apart from their ancestral fan. Hashirama retaliated in kind by choosing the antler, a fine animal found in the forests, as the Senju's official symbol, apart from the Vajra that had been their symbol for thousands of years. She was distracted from her thoughts by the sound of steel clashing against steel. Looking down into the training yard, she was pleased to see her 6 bodyguards engaged in a fierce duel. Their group's name being inspired by that of their leader. Naruto's eyes settled upon the one having the most dark long hair tied in a ponytail as he finished performing his hand seals, unleashing a massive fireball. His dark eyes settled upon his opponent as he unleashed the blazing jutsu. Out of the 6 he was the best fire style user and a master at shuriken jutsu. Ichi Uchiha was all the Uchiha could ask from the new generation, a prodigy. Beside him another boy with short spiky black hair and the same dark eyes raised a single finger, shrouding the entire training arena in darkness. Naruto still had trouble believing this Uchiha's talent with genjutsu despite his lack of Sharingan, having placed many of his enemies in unbreakable illusions before ending their lives with his hyper-fast Shunshin Shizui. Uchiha was the most devious and fastest of the group. A burst of chakra made sure the illusion was dispersed before it took hold by none other than Kagami Uchiha. Charging forward, he engaged both Ichi and Shizui in fierce taijutsu combat, pushing both talented boys back. He was physically stronger than every member of his group and as quick as a bird. The sound of clashing steel again assaulted Naori's ears as she glanced at the twins attacking one fighter fiercely. Takeshi and Mikoto were the newest members of the group. They were once servants, having been deemed too weak to fight. But during one of the sieges of their castle, the twins had taken up arms and slayed 4 grown men together. Their act of valor and strength hadn't gone unnoticed by the man currently battling against them, one who decided to make them fighters and was teaching them all he knew. Naori couldn't help but smile at the young man of 14, soon to be 15, who had kept her safe all these years. Naruto Uchiha had made a name for himself in the elemental nations as the finest swordsman. Dazzling in his golden armor and his silky brown hair and angelic features, he was a handsome sight to look at. While his brother had made his enemies shake in fear, Naruto was hated and looked down upon because of his past actions. Many had dared challenge him, the most prominent being the Fuma clan, who had tried to take this castle only to be slayed in single combat by Naruto himself. She still shivered on remembering the day her nephew butchered the Fuma to their last member with Dawn, his ancestral weapon, ending a noble family that had lasted thousands of years. The same boy blocked the sword strike from the twins with his own ancestral weapon before pushing them both back with a firm push. He smirked when Kagami, Ichi, and Shizui joined beside Takeshi and Mikoto, all of them now pointing their swords at him. "Even now I can cut through the 5 of you like carving a cake," mocked the Kinslayer. The Kinsguard laughed at his remark but prepared themselves nonetheless. Naori watched the group attack Naruto together, which made him laugh as he activated his Sharingan and began the battle. Naori couldn't help but remember the time when she thought Naruto would never gain friends because of his reputation. But as always, he surprised her. Ichi, Shizui, and Kagami, despite being heirs to less powerful Uchiha families, had made their own judgment of Naruto in the first 3 years watching the Kinslayer and his actions. When Naruto continued to prove his loyalty to the clan over and over again, the 3 boys again requested to serve under Naruto with the aim of protecting Naori's life. Naruto had agreed, for he had personally seen the skill of the 3 boys in battle. At the same time, against Naori's wishes, her nephew had inducted Takeshi and Mikoto under his command. The twins were supposed to be servants, but Naruto took them under his wing and taught them how to be ninjas. As the years passed, the group learned how to work together and accept each other despite their different likes and personalities. Kinsguard, they were called for their unflinching loyalty towards their leader, the Kinslayer. Naruto chuckled when his kick connected with Takeshi's solar plexus, making them boy gasp and fall to the ground in pain. He gave another quick roundhouse kick, sending both Mikoto and Kagami crashing away. It was Shizui and Ichi who clashed their swords against him, sending bright sparks everywhere. However, Naruto rotated his long sword with enough force to disarm Shizui, thereby leaving him open for Naruto's punch that connected with his jaw, which sent him crashing away as well. That only left the 2 most brilliant fighters of the Kinsguard against each other. It was a well-known fact that Ichi admired Naruto for his fighting skills. The boy had tried for years to defeat the Kinslayer in combat but was defeated every day. His aim of defeating Naruto in sword fighting still evaded him every time. Ichi charged forward, wordlessly aiming his weapon for a horizontal slash towards Naruto's chest. The older Uchiha simply sidestepped before kicking Ichi in the knees, earning a pained grunt. Both boys again began fighting fiercely, but Naruto had a distinct advantage with his Sharingan, and Naori could see, despite Ichi's best efforts, her nephew was handling the boy with ease. Naruto finally had enough and charged forward, feinting a strike to the right which made Ichi react in defense. The Kinslayer smirked victoriously by changing his sword hand to the left one and delivering a painful strike to Ichi's ribs that made the boy double over as Naruto placed his sword on his fellow Uchiha's neck. "Still better than you," taunted Naruto, but without any kind of arrogance or spite in his voice, and instead offered his hand to Ichi when the boy made the sign of reconciliation. "Someday I'll beat you, Lord Commander," replied Ichi confidently, making Naruto groan at the title. "How many times have I told you not to call me that?" asked Naruto irritatedly, a frown arriving on his lips when Ichi blinked confusedly. "You are our leader. It is befitting I address you by your position." There were brief chuckles as the rest of the Kinsguard came forward and surrounded the 2 boys. It was Shizui who spoke first. "Leave it, Naruto. You'd find it easier to make the Senju surrender rather than making Ichi ease up on traditions," a little teased Shizui, earning a mild glare from Ichi. "How's the stomach, Takeshi?" asked Kagami humorlessly, earning a groan from the young boy. "Fuck you." Naruto chuckled at the playful banter amongst his friends as they mocked each other. Friends. He glanced at each of them and couldn't help but be glad for having them in his life. After his past, he had given up on any hope of ever finding people who liked him. Most people in the world still hated him. But these 5 had looked past the hate and his past. They had made their own judgment and taken a risk of believing in him. He looked at the lazy fox pretending to sleep in a nearby corner and couldn't help but grin proudly, for these people around him were a proof of his claim that not all Uchiha were bad or simply insane as the beast considered. Naruto still found it hard to believe Kurama had decided to travel with him. The only reason the beast had given for such an action was the fact that the Hagoromo and Kaguya clans were hunting for him and it was safer if he stayed by Naruto's side. On being asked why, the fox had simply said that the Uchiha, despite their madness, were quite feared. Staying with them would help the beast keep an eye on them while also ensuring that he stayed out of human conflicts. But Naruto doubted that it was the entire truth, for Kurama was strong enough to handle anyone that threatened him. He liked to believe the fox came with him because they were friends. Apart from the Kingsguard, his aunt, the fox had been his constant companion and protected any that tried to harm him. It was Naruto and Kurama together who eliminated the entire Fuma clan in single combat, a fact that still made the Uchiha proud and made them accept the beast into their ranks. "Do you guys ever rest?" He turned to see his aunt approaching towards their group with a smile on her beautiful face. When the rest of the Kingsguard knelt respectfully, Naruto followed suit, but only for a moment, as Naori caught his shoulders swiftly, making him look back at her with a puzzled look in his eyes. "Your family. You never have to kneel before me," she said gently, making him look away. "I am disowned," Naori-sama said Naruto curtly, unable to his sadness over the affair. "Not to me." She looked him in the eyes that were so much like his mother's. "You are an Uchiha. You might not have our name, but you are my blood." Naruto looked away, unable to meet her piercing gaze that always made him feel like a child even if he was man now. Soon to be 15 of age, which was quite old in the short-lived mortality of their world, Naori still made him feel like a young boy. And as frustrating it was, it didn't change the fact that it was endearing as well, for hair away from his father and elder brother, Naruto still had family and his aunt who had looked after him all these years as if he were her own son. He watched her interact happily with his friends, praising them for their skills while also pointing out their mistakes. And it was fair to say people respected her, loved her, which was the opposite of what most thought of him. He was still lost in his own melancholy when Naori grabbed his arm, making him look back at her. "Walk with me," she commanded, earning a swift nod from her nephew. Naruto bid his friends goodbye as he started walking with his aunt, observing the rest of their outpost members busy with their work. Servants were seen buzzing around with their daily chores, the weaponsmith was forging some new swords, the guards were manning their stations with full vigilance, the trader sat in a corner offering various goods from lands far and near, the whores were present in a far-off building waiting for any who wanted to enjoy their services. As they walked through their castle, every man, woman or child stopped to greet his aunt respectfully, even calling him Lord Commander, for he was responsible for the security of this castle. But as soon as they turned their backs, those very same people glared at his back and whispered with loathing evident in their voice. "Kinslayer." He had gotten used to it over the years, often smiling at those glares and whispered taunts. But every time it felt like a dagger to his heart, one which he would bear for the rest of his life, and nothing would ever change the stain on his honor and his reputation. "Does it bother you?" asked Naori sadly, and was not surprised when he gave her a mocking smile. "A dragon doesn't bother with the opinion of sheep," replied Naruto with such ease that made her believe him, but his eyes spoke a different story. "Your eyes betray your pain, Naruto. They have always held a beautiful yet sad melancholy look in them," whispered Naori. He faltered at her acute observation, still not used to the fact that she could read him like an open book when most people didn't. Or maybe it was the fact that they hated him intensely that made them blind. "Poetic. I never thought one so beautiful could be this artistic," he praised with a grin, making her sigh tiredly. "We have a visitor today," she said seriously, ignoring his sarcasm. "Who?" he asked, all playfulness gone from his voice as his eyes turned cold and attentive. "Tsukumo Hitake." Despite his shock, Naruto didn't falter and continued walking by her side, and she could see his sharp mind was running through the implications of this event. "He is a sworn ally of the Senjus, isn't he?" asked Naruto curiously. "He is, as is the rest of his clan. But today he came to us for aid," revealed Naori frankly. Most Uchihas would have erupted in anger over the actions of a known enemy, but not her nephew. She watched him close his eyes briefly, and when he spoke she couldn't help but see her brother and him. "The Hitake clan are distant allies of the Senju. They have fought for them for nearly a century, but I have heard recent reports of discontent growing in their ranks. most prominently due to the frequent land poaching done by the Sarutobi clan in their lands with the permission of the Senjus. Something has changed, suggested Naruto. Correct. Something has happened. By now they had reached her chambers and Naruto saw a tall man with pure silver hair that reached up to his shoulders and stark gray eyes waiting for him. The man was fully armed and armored, carrying with him a fine short sword and the symbol of his clan, an eagle on his chest. The White Fang, people called him. And he was straight to the point. Have you made a decision, Naori-sama? Asked the Hotake curtly. The Uchiha woman smiled as she walked past her nephew and the Hotake leader before seating herself in her chair. When she spoke again, both men were surprised. That depends on my nephew, Lord Sakamo, said Naori with a hidden smile. Naruto unflinchingly stared as the man turned towards him, the judgment evident in his hard eyes, but then his eyes shifted towards the Uchiha ancestral sword, Dawn, on Naruto's hip, and he was reminded of something else. Naruto Uchiha. The boy of 14 knew saying his name was hard for the older man against the term people usually addressed him by. But Sakamo was a smart man who needed help, and Naruto was pleased to meet a leader who set aside his pride for his people, even if the same man looked at him currently with disapproval evident in his eyes. Lord Hotake, he replied curtly. You have asked for our help, Lord Sakamo. And while it is true that I am the representative of my clan on behalf of my elder brother, it is my nephew who retains command of our forces stationed here so far from home. If you need aid, you have to make your case to him, directed Naori, surprising Naruto as he stared at her. He was no longer the heir or even a spare, and yet his aunt always liked to thrust these political problems at him quite often. Even now she was smiling amusedly, waiting for his decision as Lord Sakamo stared at him impatiently. Let's hear it, said Naruto in a resigned voice. The Yamanaka. Naruto didn't miss the hatred in the man's voice or the anger present in his gray eyes as he said the name of one of the most noble and feared clans of the world. What of them? Asked Naruto seriously. A week ago, Iwashi Yamanaka, the current heir of the clan, abducted my daughter from my home forcefully. I want her back, said Sakamo bitterly. Naruto appreciated a man who got to the point without any unwanted conversation. Last I heard, you are a sworn ally of the Senju clan, our enemies. Why not ask them for help in this matter? Asked Naruto seriously, looking harshly upon the clan leader. Don't you think I have tried, boy? Hashirama Senju asked for time to resolve this matter because his efforts to make the Yamanaka join his side are more important than the safety of my daughter or the injustice done to our clan which has served Hashirama's family for generations, explained Sakamo furiously. Naruto ignored the remark thrown at him and walked towards the man. Despite his young age, he was still tall enough to almost stare the older man in the eye, and his armored form only seemed to make Sakamo stiffen. And why would the Uchiha help a clan that has been our sworn enemy for generations? Our own side has been trying to make the Yamanaka side with us. If we help you, then we will simply make them join the Senjus. And last I checked, the Yamanaka clan has more fighters than you, and their ninjutsu are more dangerous than your entire clan combined, explained Naruto honestly, a dangerous glint in his eyes that made Sakamo flinch. Naori sipped her wine with a smile, quite pleased with having her nephew tear into the enemy clan leader. She loved watching his hidden potential, for Naruto was as skilled with his words as he was with his sword. He would make a good leader. She proudly watched the anger and righteousness disappear from Sakamo's face as he now looked like a defeated man. It is true that we have been enemies, but when my sworn allies forsake me, I am left with no choice but to approach a faction that has the power to save my daughter. If I act against the Yamanaka, which I want to, the Senju clan will destroy my clan for hindering their great cause of gathering powerful allies. But my daughter, said Sakamo briefly with a nasty scowl present on his face. Most people would have reacted favorably in the helpless man's side. Naori knew Madara would, for he was a man of action, one thirsted for battles no matter the foe. But Naruto was a different man, forged through hardships and scorn he faced in his life that made him look at the world differently than his brother. I'm afraid we cannot help you, Lord Sakamo. Have a good day. Sakamo was left speechless by the boy's decision, but looking into those stone-cold eyes reminded him of the fact that he was an Uchiha and they were never known to be kind, merciful, or just even to their own clan members, much less to those belonging to other clans. He had known about this possibility but had still hoped to gather some support for his family and clan by manipulating the Uchiha's hatred for the Senjus. But the kinslayer was far sharper than people gave him credit for. The boy might be a criminal, but he was dangerous. Sakamo had seen that. He looked at Naori one last time for another answer, but she regretfully shook her head, accepting her nephew's decision. Tired and defeated, Sakamo turned around and started to walk away when he was forced to stop. Swear fealty to my clan, and I promise to give you back your daughter, your lost lands, your stolen dignity, and make your enemies repent for their actions against you." Sakamo turned back swiftly, his face a mask of surprise and relief, which was further elated when he saw Naruto stare back at him unflinchingly. "I will personally lead this mission along with my kinsguard and see that justice is done for both our clans," promised Naruto. "Naru," said Naori hesitantly, while she knew he was strong. Going up against the Yamanaka clan with just his kinsguard was not enough. More than that, it was not worth risking so much for the Hotake clan that barely had 300 fighters. Naruto looked back at her with a conviction ever present in his brown eyes. "If we can't protect our prospective allies, then why should they protect us?" Sakamo looked on as Naori nodded her head, albeit reluctantly, giving her approval, which finally made the boy in golden armor start his own march towards the exit. Kinslayer. Naruto stopped only to turn around and find Sakamo staring back at him, but with less distaste in his hard eyes. "You're not the man I expected you to be," stated Sakamo honestly, and saw a far-off look present in the boy's eyes, likely as he remembered some memory from his past. "Neither did I, Lord Sakamo." The boy gave a curt nod before marching out without ever looking back, his dark cloak strapped on his armor swirling gracefully behind him. Sakamo didn't know how long he stayed there staring at the door, for a lot of things had changed for him in the past few minutes. Most of all, he had judged a man wrongly. It was always said that even the most powerful and deceptive ninjas couldn't hide their treachery or evil lurking in their hearts if one looked closely in their eyes. For the eyes were a reflection of a person's heart, and today he had seen the heart of Naruto Uchiha. He felt another presence arriving beside him and saw Naori staring at the same door with a sad look in her eyes. "Do you think he can do it?" asked Sakamo finally, making the beautiful Uchiha smirk. "He never makes empty promises. If he says he will do it, then he will," assured Naori, and saw the Hotake clan head close his eyes for several long moments before opening them again with clarity present in those orbs. "If he manages to save my daughter without attracting the attention of the Yamanaka, Senju, or anyone else, then I will officially join your side along with my clan. The Hotake will fight for you. We are not a large clan but a proud one. And we can fight as fiercely like any other great clans," promised Sakamo, earning a nod from Naori. "Then for the time being, until Naruto completes his mission, you shall be our guest. Once the deed is done, we'll make the treaty official, and while I have every faith in your integrity, I will remind you that a dragon never trusts easily, and if wronged, it burns its enemies to ashes," said Naori cryptically, with a chilling smile that made Sakamo shiver as he remembered how Madara Uchiha alone had decimated the Aburame clan in single combat. And he had no intention of pissing off that dangerous man. Naori smirked when her point was made, and when she saw the raw fear in Sakamo's eyes, likely because of Madara's reputation of raining down fire and blood on their enemies, compared to him Naruto was far too merciful and accommodating. Something which people took him granted for, including the man beside her. Sakamo stiffened and looked in alarm as the woman beside him unleashed a dangerous amount of killing aura right at him. Her dark eyes boring into his very soul with barely restrained hatred and anger, completely abolishing her prior image of a simple diplomat. And while Naori had not taken out any weapons against him, Sakamo could feel the threat quite clearly. "We respect our allies and expect the same in return, Sakamo Hotake. You have called my nephew a name today, and if you dare repeat that or something worse, then it'll not be just me that you'll piss off, but Madara Uchiha and Tajima Uchiha themselves. Compared to them and me, Naruto Uchiha is far more merciful. Understood?" she asked icily. He saw it then. The madness this clan was famous and feared for. Because there was none who loved or none who hated as fiercely as the Uchiha. And the same madness lurked in Naori's eyes as she glared at him menacingly, and he saw it in her eyes that this woman would butcher his entire clan if they wronged her own. Compared to her, the look he had seen in Naruto's eyes was different. It was a look of melancholy and sadness hidden behind smiles or sarcastic humor he was famous for. He had a strength to him witnessed by Sakamo in just the way the boy carried himself, but most of all the boy was known for keeping his promises. Naruto sat among his personal guard, who were also his only friends in the world. Each of them staring at him with mixed expressions as he finished explaining the events that happened earlier. "You want us to pass through Senju territory to attack a great clan like the Yamanaka all by our own for the Hotake clan?" asked Kagami incredulously, summing up the thoughts of everyone else as well who stared at Naruto blankly. "Naruto, your father has been trying to engage the Yamanaka for an alliance for almost a year now. If you do this, then it will all be for nothing," warned Shizui, making his stand on the matter clear as well. "Why the hell should we even risk our lives? And the future of our clan for the Hotake? They have been our enemies for nearly a century, responsible for the death of many of our brethren. I'd say they deserve what they've got," said Takeshi viciously. Naruto looked at the two silent members of his group, ones who had yet to say anything, and while he valued everyone's opinion, he valued the opinion of these two even more. It was Uchiha who looked back at him with a knowing glint in his eyes. "Lord Commander, I am with you." Naruto smirked at his friend, for he was able to read between the lines, went past the impossibility and threats to see what could truly be achieved here. The opportunity of a lifetime. "Something tells me you have a plan behind this." "I'd like to hear it first before giving my opinion," said Mikoto frankly, earning a wide smile from the handsome Uchiha, who was quite pleased to see her putting rationality before emotions and fears. He looked at his opposing friends, who were at least now willing to listen to his idea, even if it was extremely crazy in their opinion. "The Yamanaka will never join our side willingly, no matter what father does," stated Naruto honestly. "Why?" asked Kagami with a frown on his face, which made Naruto nod. "Because our clans are a little too similar. We Uchiha are masters of manipulation with our genjutsu and Sharingan, the Yamanaka are the same with their mind arts. When one can control the will of another, they refuse to bow to someone similar to them capable of doing the same thing. The Yamanaka know that we Uchiha can counter their mind manipulation no matter how subtle, thereby rendering their chances of gaining advantage over us secretly useless. The Senju on the other hand are not so strong in the mind arts, and considering Hashirama's friendly and trustful nature, the Yamanaka will attempt his manipulation from the shadows. It will be subtle and may take time, but those mindwalkers are willing to take the risk," explained Naruto seriously. "Then why this farce of talks with your father? If they really want to join the Senju, why not do so?" asked Takeshi irritatedly, having the shortest temper among them all and one who hated politics of any kind, unlike his smart sister. "To get as much benefit as they can from whichever side they join, while also displaying a fake respect to the faction they choose not to join. It's a much larger game," explained Uchiha seriously, his face as blank as ever. "They are dangerous." "What should we do?" asked Kagami hesitantly. The chilling smile that arrived on Naruto's lips momentarily stopped all their hearts. "It's time to hunt a mindwalker." Well, that's the end of this video. If you want the next part, please like and subscribe. Also share with a friend. This is Guapo, and have a good rest of your day.